Many people, once they become sober, have an unconscious habit of calling themselves an alcoholic or an addict. And I want to bring some attention to this because there's a lot of monkey mind in that statement. And maybe for some people there isn't, but for the majority of people there really is. And what I mean by that is that we have a tendency to build identities around how we present ourselves or how we talk about ourselves. When you think of saying to someone, I'm an alcoholic, underneath that, most likely, lives a trouble territory, meaning that what is an alcoholic? It starts heading in a direction of how do I see myself and how do I value myself? And for a lot of us, what's happening is that terms really mean I messed up, but it goes further than I messed up. It's there must be something wrong with me because I'm different than you. I couldn't manage my drinking or my drug use. And so therefore, I'm not like you. And so it unconsciously reinforces this over and over again. And it's important to think that there is a way to actually be with yourself that can be very different than that, where it is about bringing a lot of compassion and a lot of kindness and a different way of actually seeing yourself. But this has to come in action. It doesn't just live as a positive affirmation, oh, I'm now good, because the monkey mind is relentless. It tells you things like, remember you messed up, don't do it again. And it's constantly making up scenario, perhaps, of how you could mess up again. But imagine for a second that you go to some event and somebody offers you a margarita. Some of us sometimes might stop completely going to events where people drink because there's a huge fear for you, and that's okay too. What I'm talking about is at some point you have to be integrated. You have to really live your life and not be dominated by this anymore. So you go somewhere, they offer you a margarita, and you can just say no. And that's a choice. And oftentimes if you just say no, what's happening is there's still a feeling inside of yourself, especially if the person is, oh, come on, it's just a margarita, or enjoy yourself. If there's any comeback after you say no, then it starts hitting the nervous system. It starts to feel like, okay, wait a second, now what do I do with this? If you want to really learn to move beyond this monkey mind and this way that we have to constantly build a sense unconsciously that there's something wrong with us, because that's what we're reinforcing when we keep not addressing it directly. Imagine yourself saying instead, I've had trouble with alcohol where I couldn't manage it well or couldn't manage drugs, and it's damaged a lot of my relationships along the way. So I've decided that I need to live differently. I appreciate it and I'd love to eliminate. Now, in those moments, what's actually happening is that this is a moment that's really tender. It's a moment where, oh, I'm exposing something real about myself. And here's the thing. If you get rejected, or if there's any way that the person is giving you some kind of cold shoulder, in that moment is the opportunity to find out what is actually happening inside yourself and to no longer run from it, because that's what we were doing with the alcohol. In that moment, if you feel any kind of friction or a sense that it's like, oh, this hurts, I want to invite you to do something different. Go sit by yourself somewhere and just breathe for a minute. Just notice. Just like you would if a child was crying or if a child was hurt. The same thing. This is the very thing we did not receive growing up that would have made all the difference, is that we haven't learned to be in true relationships with the way we experience life. We're trying to sort of overstep it. We're trying to just hide from the real emotions that we're having. But in reality, they're there. And in order to maintain a sober life, that kind of attunement needs to happen. Imagine yourself sitting there for a moment where you just make room for the hurt. You just breathe into it. And something happens every single time when we do this. is that there's awareness that starts to happen naturally. You don't even need to make it up. It starts to come to you where you're noticing, oh, yeah, he said this, and whew, I really took that to heart. And so in that moment, you allow yourself to feel that hurt, and you let this connection become the beginning of the awareness that can surge, that can just come to life. And what you'll find is there'll be something like, oh, I actually was thinking that there's something wrong with me. There's some version of, oh, but if I could actually have a margarita, then everything would be okay. But now I'm different. And so by allowing yourself to feel that, there's an awareness that comes on board. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying to go and do this at every party, or some of us just go to gatherings where people drink wine, and that's perfectly fine. It's a choice. What I'm saying is that at some point, we have to make the decision to claim our lives and to claim our tribe. And that doesn't happen with just thinking positively. It happens with real actions like this where we take a risk. And when you take a risk to notice that you're challenging this identity, when you sit there and you go, wait a second, is that how I define myself? Yes, I've made mistakes. Yes, I've burned bridges. And yes, those were mistakes I didn't want to make. But the truth is, who am I as a person? Am I going to continue to define who I am based on those past behaviors? That's the challenge. And compassion goes a long way, because when I allow the hurt, I now make room for the fact that, yeah, I messed up. But when I messed up, it's different than an identity that says, you're bad. There's something wrong with you. The invitation is this. Find the moments. Find them, because they're all around you. Find the moments where you decide. Just think of it this way. If someone had a peanut allergy, they wouldn't walk around saying, hi, my name is Joe, I'm a peanut allergy. No, they would simply say, hey, you know what? Peanuts and me don't mix, so make sure you don't put peanuts in my food. Eventually, it'll become like this. That's the secret. But initially, we have to be willing to address the very deep emotion, which are usually about just being okay with who we are, without attaching what the monkey mind is making up. It's full of lies that tells us how we should be in order to belong. It's absurd. The more you look at it, the more we can see the absurdity of this. But yet, it's very painful. It's very real. So I want to extend some compassion towards you living this sober life now and having to face this challenge. But here's one thing you have that you're ahead of most people, is that you now know the power of being vulnerable, because you've had to, on some level, admit to yourself and maybe others and the close people who love you, admit to them that, yeah, you did mess up. And that's actually a good thing. It's a very powerful thing that says, hey, I made a mistake, but I'm not a mistake. That's the difference. It takes time to build the connection to the nervous system, but it's so worth it. So welcome to your sober life. Welcome to the beautiful you that you are. Be you. Be you. If there's something that resonated with you in this conversation, it's not just meant to be information. The real transformation can happen when we actually practice together how to live authentically, how to live beyond the monkey mind, how we actually learn to feel safe, to be just who we are. So if that excites you, come and join us. I've created pods in avivelavi.com. You can find the link as it will follow, and join us so that we can actually make connection a priority in our lives. Thank you for listening.